Peace and blessings, family. I'm your brother in the struggle, Ali. Today I would like to share with you some of the life-giving teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad as it relates to holy names. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad in his 1972 Table Talks explained to us that there is a system or formula for the FOIs and MGTs, or the student followers of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, regarding names. He explained that if you have a conscious name, if you will, it could be an African name, an Arabic name, a Hebrew name, whatever. As long as it's a conscious name, you don't put an X with that type of name. For example, I was born with the middle name Isha, or the night prayer, or the last prayer. Since my name is Isha, I don't have to put an Isha X or Isha 2X or 3X. I would just use the name Isha. There is a sequence to the names. Some of our African brothers and sisters and Arabic brothers and sisters, they have 4, 8, 10 different names. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us we only use a first, middle, and last name. So we only use 3 names when it comes to holy names. We don't use names like Rashid, Kareem, Abdul, Hakim. That's 4 names. We only use 3. So that's an important distinction with the student followers of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. We also can't put a X with an attribute. Like, we don't say Kareem 2X or Kareem X. We just say Kareem. There's no need to put the X, because the X signifies the unknown factor. X means unknown. The messenger also explains to us that when it comes to Arabic names, we can't just paste them together any old fancy way that we want to. Like, for example, you can't have the name Allah Kareem, but he explained to us you can have the name Kareem Allah, because Allah is all in all. Allah has 99 attributes. Allah is supreme. Allah is the God. So you don't put a name after Allah. You can put names before Allah. So you can't have the name Allah Abdul, but you can have the name Abdul Allah or Abdullah. You can have the name Rashid Allah, Hakim Allah, Alif Allah, Basir Allah, Malik Allah, what have you. But you don't supposed to put an X with an attribute, nor should you put a name after the name of Allah. For those of you that were born here in the wilderness of North America, we're conscious that there are place names, meaning that since the so-called American Negro, or the so-called African Americans, went through chattel slavery, and there's all types of slavery, but only America had chattel slavery. There's a distinction there. Chattel slavery took away our identity, meaning that we no longer know our language, our flag, our land, our nationality, our heritage, nor our culture. They stripped us of that. So if the slave master was named John and he raped the black slave woman and got her pregnant, they would name that son, that's John's son. So a whole family would become known as the Johnsons, the Jacksons, the Bensons, the Wilsons. We're rejecting that legacy of so-called slavery because our people were prisoners of war. We were warriors. And this is why from 1555 to 1600s, they hide that history, because they don't want people to understand how they made a so-called Negro. They made a so-called slave. It's like a lion coming from Africa. If a lion was brought over here straight from the wilderness, straight from his natural habitat, you cannot enslave that lion. There's nothing you can say, nothing you can do. That lion will not fear your whip. That lion will not fear death. That lioness will not fear your whip. That lioness will not fear your gun. You would have to kill her because she knows herself. He knows himself. They know that they are the queen and the king of the jungle, as we say. But if you was to take and put that so-called wild lion and that wild lioness in a cage in the Philadelphia Zoo or in your circus or in your carnival, they would still procreate. And when she had her cubs, those cubs are born with the knowledge of themselves. Their mother's DNA, their father's DNA is coursing through their system. So what the slave master does, he'll take that lion or that lioness and keep them in a cage, but he'll take the cubs away from them. And he'll give the cubs a bottle of milk instead of his mother's breast milk. It'll feed that teen cub pieces of meat that they toss into his cage. So that cub no longer hunts for itself. That cub never goes out and learn how to properly roar. It didn't hear his father's voice, his mother's voice. It didn't go into its manhood and womanhood training that it would naturally go through for survival's sake, because the first law of nature is self-preservation, according to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So here you have these baby cubs being raised up in bondage. When you're finished with that type of cub, when it's adult, you can go in there with your whip and no gun. And when you snap your whip, that cub will do whatever you tell him to do. That lion becomes so docile that you can literally take your bare hands and stretch his mouth open and put your head inside the lion's mouth and say, da-da, and that lion won't bite you because he doesn't know he's a king. He doesn't know he's a warrior. However, you will not go in the jungles of Azania or South Africa. You will not go into the jungles of West Africa and Central Africa and take one of those lions, one of those lioness, one of those panthers, one of those cheetahs and play with it. You have to see the comparison to the so-called American Negro or the so-called African Americans. We have been made totally other than our own selves. So when our brothers and sisters see us looking like them, but we're going by the name Arthur and Stephen and Will and Debbie and Donna and Paula, they like, those are European names. Those are German names. Those are Greek names. Those are Jewish names. Why is y'all calling yourselves by those names? Because we didn't have the knowledge of self. But all praises are due to Allah, the supreme Allah, who came in the person of the Master Fard Muhammad, to whom all praises are due forever, for blessing us with the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of our original true selves. So I just wanted to share with you these principles, because the Holy Quran teaches us you can call Allah by the name Allah, or you can call him by the name of Rahman or Rahim. As long as you call him by any good name, that's the name of God. As long as it's a conscious name, a positive name. The Bible teaches us a good name is better than fine gold and precious jewels. So a name is important. If you would like to get more information on holy names, you can send me an email, or you can go on our website. You can go to ministeralif@gmail.com and I'll send you some information about holy names, or you could go on our website and we have the FOI MGT Holy Name book that gives you a list of Kiswahili names, Hebrew names, Arabic names, African names, conscious names, and their meanings as well as how you can legally in this country use your name on your driver's license or your identifications by using a certain formula. We had a forms actually in the book to do that. Peace and blessings, family. I'm your brother in the struggle. I'll leave.